This is a little girl. She is a 7-year-old Tennessee walking horse mare. She she has a light build, light to medium muscling. She looks tight in her back and her hindquarters. So she is gaited, and she does have deviations in her gaits. She does have fluid movement. She is a bit lazy. She's been out in the pasture for a while. But she does look a little tight in her back and her hindquarters. Her joints look fine. And here you can really tell the deviations in her gaits as she's loping. Here I'll start with effleurage. Then I'll go with cross fiber friction. She licks and chews her lips. And follow with a little effleurage. And then trigger point therapy with my thumb. Or press and release. Some more effleurage. Now move it on to her loins. Start with effleurage. And then use cross fiber friction. And she licks and chews her lips. Use some more effleurage. Now moving on to the top of the haunches, I'll start with effleurage again. And then cross fiber friction. She relaxes a little bit. And then I'll use some circular friction. She licks and chews. And then she yawns. And follow it with effleurage. Trigger point therapy, sorry. Use some more cross fiber friction. Follow it with press and glide. Now the lower attachments of the haunches, I'll start with cross fiber friction. I'll use some circular friction. And she yawns and licks and chews. And some effleurage. And some more cross fiber friction. Finish it with effleurage. And then moving on to the adductors, I just use kneading in this area. She's not tight or sore. And use a little effleurage. And she yawns and licks and chews. Moving on to the groin area, start with effleurage. And then I use some kneading. And she yawns, licks and chews. Moving on to her belly. We use effleurage and kneading. Now moving on to her shoulder. Let's start with some effleurage. And then I'll use cross fiber friction. And I use circular friction. And some kneading. And follow with effleurage. I use some trigger point therapy. Press and release. Cross fiber friction. And some kneading. And follow with effleurage. Now onto her neck. I'll start with effleurage. And then cross fiber friction. And she lowers her head. Here's a little circular friction. And she lowers her head again. And follow with effleurage. Down to the lower part of her neck. Start with effleurage. Now use some cross fiber friction. And she licks and chews. And her pull, we use, I just gently massaged her pull. And her jaw, little effleurage, kneading. And lightly effleurage on her forehead. I'm starting on the long back muscles. I start with effleurage and followed by cross fiber friction. Now I use circular friction. And go back to cross fiber friction. Now I use press and release. And go back to cross fiber friction.
Not like that.
Moving on to the loins. Start with some effleurage and then use cross fiber friction. Now use press and release. Some cross fiber friction. Now the top of the haunches, I'll start with some effleurage and then use cross fiber friction. Then I'll use some circular friction. Now to the bottom part of her attachments, I use some cross fiber friction. And some effleurage. And the adductors, I use some kneading and effleurage in this area. In the groin area, I'll start with some effleurage. And use some kneading. And I missed this part earlier, the tuber sacral. So I just used some effleurage in this area and cross fiber friction. Now in her belly, I'll use some effleurage and kneading. And she licks and chews. And I went back to her back with effleurage and cross fiber friction. Now to her shoulder. Start with some effleurage. I use cross fiber friction. Some circular friction. Follow with some more effleurage and circular friction. Moving to the top of her neck, start with some effleurage. I use cross fiber friction. I use some circular friction. And she's getting better about her pole area. Now to the lower part of her neck, start with effleurage and cross fiber friction. I use some kneading and then follow it with effleurage. In her jaw, I use some kneading circular friction. A little effleurage to her forehead. She was being more stubborn on this side today.